You ever sit down to work and instantly want to do anything else? Like suddenly cleaning your desk feels urgent, or alphabetizing your snacks seems productive. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain's quietly saying, something about this task doesn't add up right now. And motivation? It's not random. Psychologists have actually mapped out why that resistance happens. Once you understand the pattern, you can work with it. Not by forcing motivation, but by adjusting the variables. There's this framework from educational psychology called expectancy value theory. Researchers like Alan Wigfield and Jacqueline Eccles have been studying it for decades, and here's what they found. Your motivation follows a pattern based on 3 elements. Expectancy, how much you believe you can succeed. Value, how much it matters to you. And cost, how much effort, stress, or time it feels like it'll take. When one of those drops, motivation drops with it. So what looks like a motivation problem is often a mismatch in one of these 3 areas. Let's say you've got an essay due. If you think, I'm terrible at writing, that's low expectancy. If you're thinking, this topic's pointless, that's low value. And if it feels like it'll take 5 hours of mental pain, that's high cost. 3 elements working against you. I used to think I was a chronic procrastinator, that something was fundamentally wrong with my discipline. But once I started paying attention to these 3 elements, I realized I wasn't lazy. I just had low expectancy. I didn't believe I could finish what I started, especially bigger projects. So I started shrinking tasks down. 5-minute chunks. 1 paragraph instead of the whole essay. Small wins, and motivation came back. Not because I suddenly became disciplined, but because my brain finally believed the task was doable.
So we know motivation needs high expectancy, high value, and manageable cost. But is this actually backed up by research? Yeah, pretty solidly. Albert Bandura spent decades studying what he called self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed. And he found it's one of the strongest predictors of whether we actually take action. Even when we want to do something, if we don't believe we can, we won't start. Researchers like Wu and Corpus found that perceived cost, how draining or difficult something feels, can completely override motivation, even when you believe in yourself and care about the goal. Your brain's running a cost-benefit analysis before you even realize it. Here's what changed things for me. I realized the problem wasn't me. It was figuring out which element wasn't working. You don't fix motivation by telling yourself, just try harder. You fix it by identifying what's actually blocking you. Is it belief, meaning, or genuine exhaustion? Once you know that, you can actually do something about it. Motivation stops being mysterious. It becomes something you can diagnose and adjust. All right, let's make this actionable. Here's the process. Grab a sheet of paper and draw 4 columns. Task, expectancy, value, cost, and what needs adjusting. Choose 1 task you've been avoiding. Rate each element from 1 to 10. Then start with the lowest score. If expectancy is low, shrink the task. Instead of finish the essay, try write 1 sentence. Or open the document. Like I mentioned, small wins rebuild belief quickly. If value is low, link it back to you, not external pressure. Ask yourself, why does this matter to me? Not my boss, not my tutor, me. Maybe it builds a skill you want. Maybe it reduces future stress. Maybe it keeps a promise to your future self. Personal connection drives motivation. But sometimes value is low because the work genuinely doesn't matter. If that's the case, your resistance might be valid information. If cost is high, ask yourself, is fear-based or real? If you're genuinely exhausted or burned out, that high cost is noteworthy. Consider rest, help, or reassessing the task. But if the cost feels high mainly because you haven't started, lower the barrier. Work in 15-minute blocks. Perception of cost usually drops once you're in motion. Your brain recalculates. This isn't as bad as I thought. After a short time, re-rate your elements. Expectancy up, cost down, value clearer. That's the pattern adjusting.
And here's the takeaway. You don't need to force motivation. You need to understand what's blocking it.
And that's a completely different approach. Now, this framework has limits. Mood, energy, mental health. Those matter too. And sometimes the issue isn't your motivation at all. It's the situation. Some things genuinely don't deserve your energy, and that's okay. But for everything else, start simple. Pick just one task this week. Rate the 3 elements. Adjust the lowest one, and see what happens. You might be surprised how quickly things shift when you work with your brain instead of against it. And if it doesn't work perfectly the first time, then keep going, because you're learning to read your own patterns, and that takes practice. So, next time you're stuck, consider which element is off. Is it expectancy, value, or maybe cost? If you want to try this, we've got a motivation equation check-in worksheet on our website. Link in the description, and let me know in the comments, which element do you struggle with most? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.